Welcome to the Indie Author Masterclass, brought to you by Jazz in Prose. I'm your guide, and I'm excited to walk with you through this journey of becoming a published author. Whether you're just getting started or you already have a manuscript, you're in the right place. Here's how this course will work. You'll listen to each lesson in a podcast-style format, designed to help you learn in a way that feels natural and easy to follow. As you move through the course, you'll also see me pop in at key moments to highlight important ideas, encourage you to take notes, and make sure you fully understand what's being taught. Think of me as your guide, here to keep you focused and moving forward. So without further ado, let's get started. Grab your pen and notebook and let the learning begin.
Every single year, there are well over 1 million new books published.
Oh, easily. It's a massive number.
Right. Yet the vast majority of them will end up being read by fewer people than can comfortably fit inside like a standard minivan.
Yeah, it's a pretty sobering statistic when you really think about it.
It really is. And, why is that? I mean, it isn't a lack of talent. It's actually because most writers are meticulously preparing for this quiet, beautiful, creative art show when what they actually need to be preparing for is running a global supply chain.
Exactly.
So welcome to today's deep dive. We are pulling apart a really fascinating guide today called The Indie Author Mindset, Taking Ownership of Your Voice.
Which is such a necessary resource right now.
Absolutely. And just to be completely clear up front for everyone listening, our mission today isn't about, the technical weeds. We aren't going to bore you with manuscript formatting rules or how to game the Amazon algorithm or, I don't know, what metadata tags are trending this week.
Right, because those things change constantly anyway.
Exactly. We are going after something significantly more vital. We are unpacking the foundational psychology, like the mental armor you need to actually survive the independent publishing world without losing your mind.
Which is an essential distinction, I think, because the core thesis we're exploring today is actually a bit of a reality check.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, most people do not fail at independent publishing because their prose is clunky or their dialogue is wooden.
Right.
They struggle, and ultimately they burn out because they fundamentally misunderstand their own job description.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because it's kind of like assuming that because you know how to cook a truly incredible, mouth-watering meal in your own home kitchen, you're automatically equipped to run a profitable 5-star restaurant.
I love that analogy.
Thanks. I mean, those are two entirely different universes of skill, right? One is about the delicate art of the food. The other, that's about supply chains, profit margins, marketing, customer service, and, figuring out how to keep the lights on when the oven just randomly breaks.
Yeah. I'll actually challenge that analogy just slightly, though.
Oh, go for it.
It's almost worse than just lacking the business skills to run the restaurant. It's an identity crisis.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You have someone who deeply, truly believes they're just a chef, suddenly waking up to find out they're also the general manager, the head of PR, and the accountant. And they resent it.
That makes total sense.
Right. They resent having to leave the kitchen. They just want to cook.
That resentment is exactly where I want to start, actually. Because to understand this massive paradigm shift, we really have to look at how this transition happens in the real world.
Definitely.
The text provides this great origin story. The author shares her own background starting back in 2013, I believe.
Yeah, 2013.
Right. And she wasn't an industry insider. She didn't have this Rolodex of elite Manhattan publishing contacts. She was a homemaker who simply had a genuine desire to connect with the world through her writing.
Which is where so many indie authors start.
Exactly. No roadmap, zero mentors. But she had this stubborn willingness to learn, and more importantly, to fail.
And what's fascinating here is how she frames those failures. She doesn't view stumbling as a roadblock.
Right.
When you are operating without a map, your mistakes literally become your curriculum.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, every botched cover design or failed ad campaign isn't a sign to quit. It's raw data. And that data is exactly what teaches you to turn a raw passion for writing into something sustainable and, profitable.
But doing that requires a massive psychological leap, which the guide actually calls the shift.
Yes. Capital T, capital S.
Right. You have to accept that you are no longer just a writer. You are an author, and you are the ultimate decision maker.
You own all of it.
Exactly. You decide when the manuscript is actually ready. You own the cover design, the formatting, the distribution channels, just everything.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, you already know the traditional gatekeepers are gone. Anyone can publish a book today.
Right, you just make an account and hit upload.
Exactly. You don't need an agent to deem you worthy or an editor to buy your manuscript. But what nobody warns you about is that when you lose the gatekeeper, you also lose your psychological safety net.
Oh, man.
You lose your scapegoat.
That is such a brutal way to put it, but it's so true.
It really is. I mean, in traditional publishing, if your book flops, you can just blame the marketing department.
Right. Or if the cover is ugly, you blame the art director.
Exactly. The moment you remove those gatekeepers, yes, you gain absolute freedom, but you also absorb absolute responsibility. The buck stops entirely with you. You are literally the CEO of your own creative enterprise.
Okay, let me stop you right there because I have to push back on this a little bit.
Sure.
Doesn't that immense burden of responsibility inherently threaten the creative process itself? I mean, think about it. If you're sitting at your keyboard, pouring your soul into this deeply emotional chapter, but the back of your mind is stressing about profit margins and distribution bottlenecks and whether your cover art fits the current market trends.
Yeah, that's a lot of noise.
Right. So how do you protect the delicate art of just writing? Doesn't the business side just totally crush the artist's soul?
It's a very real danger, and honestly, it's exactly why so many indie authors just freeze up completely.
Yeah.
But the solution isn't to reject the business side. It's strict psychological compartmentalization.
Okay, what does that look like in practice?
Think of it like trying to be the architect and the bricklayer on the exact same afternoon.
Okay.
If you're criticizing the structural integrity of the blueprints while you're actively trying to pour the wet cement, the house is never getting built.
Right. You'd just be standing there arguing with yourself.
Exactly. You have to literally lock the architect out of the room until the walls are up.
So when you are actually drafting the manuscript, you are purely the artist. The CEO is not allowed in the room.
Not even a little bit. You exist entirely in the creative realm. But the moment you type the end, you have to take off the artist's beret and put on the executive suit. The friction, the burnout, happens when people try to wear both hats at the exact same time. The mindset shift is really about knowing when to be the vulnerable visionary and when to be the ruthless manager.
I love that architect and bricklayer framing. That is so helpful. But wearing that executive hat is where I think most authors hit a massive brick wall.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they're operating under this deeply ingrained industry-wide delusion. The guide calls it out perfectly. It's the build it and they will come fallacy.
Ah, yes. The most dangerous assumption in the entire creative world.
It really is the ultimate trap. I mean, the most fatal thought you can have as an indie author is, if I write a truly great book, people will naturally find it.
Okay.
Like, we all want to believe this romantic notion that pure, undeniable quality possesses some magical, magnetic force that just pulls readers in out of nowhere.
It's a nice thought.
It is, but the reality is blunt. That is absolutely not how this industry works.
Not even close.
Okay.
When well over 1 million books are flooding the market annually, quality is just the entry fee.
Just the entry fee. Wow.
Yeah. Does not guarantee an audience at all. To combat this romantic myth, we really have to break the journey down into 3 distinct, non-overlapping phases.
Okay, let's hear them.
Phase 1 is writing, phase 2 is publishing, and phase 3 is visibility.
And visibility is the engine. I mean, writing the book is basically just building the chassis of a car.
Sure.
And publishing it, like hitting upload on Amazon or wherever, is just parking that car in a gigantic, completely crowded parking lot.
Right.
Visibility is the fuel and the engine that actually gets the car out of the lot and onto the highway.
Which is exactly why this 3-step reality hits new authors like a ton of bricks. We are so conditioned to view the act of publishing as the grand finale.
Oh, yeah. You hit the upload button, you pop the champagne, and you just wait for the applause.
Exactly. But publishing is not the finish line. It is barely the starting line. It's
Right.
really the starting line for the longest, most grueling phase of all, which is generating that visibility.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because the obvious reaction to that realization is just pure panic. Definitely.
Like, how do you actually run that visibility engine without feeling like some sleazy door-to-door salesperson? But the source material today doesn't just yell at you to market harder.
No, it's much more strategic than that.
Right. It breaks down the exact anatomy of what successful indie authors do differently to achieve that visibility without losing their souls in the process. It outlines 4 very specific pillars.
Okay, what are they?
First, they take absolute ownership of the process, which means, analyzing data instead of just blindly blaming the algorithm when things go wrong.
Right, taking agency.
Exactly. Second, they invest time into treating the business side like a craft they actually have to learn.
Mm.
Third, they stay fiercely consistent, especially when results are slow. And fourth, they actively build genuine connections and community.
I want to zero in on that third pillar for a second.
The consistency one.
Yeah, because it is usually where careers either live or die. Staying consistent when results are incredibly slow. Think about the biological reality of the digital age we're in.
We live in an ecosystem of instant dopamine. You post a picture of your dog online, and you get 30 likes in 5 minutes.
Right.
Your brain fully expects immediate feedback. But book publishing, that is a game of months, years, and sometimes decades.
Right. So when you launch a book and you check your dashboard and you see you've sold exactly 3 copies in a week, and let's be honest, 2 of them were to your mom.
Yeah, exactly.
Your brain's immediate biological response is a massive dopamine crash.
And what happens during that crash? You take a purely business metric, which is slow sales, and you instantly translate it into a devastating judgment on your creative soul.
Oh, that's so true.
You don't think, oh, my ad targeting is slightly off. You think, my writing is garbage, I am a total fraud, and I should just quit.
Yes. You merge the CEO and the artist again in the absolute worst possible way.
Exactly. Treating the slow periods as a normal, seasonal part of the business cycle requires immense psychological resilience.
It really does.
It means looking at a flat sales chart and saying, okay, the visibility engine is sputtering right now. Let's look at the data. Do I need to tweak the book description? Does the cover fail to communicate the genre properly?
Right, you're looking for practical fixes.
Yes. You treat the silence as a puzzle to solve
Yeah.
rather than a final verdict on your worth as a human being.
Which naturally brings us to the fourth pillar, which is community. And this really profound concept in the text of moving with purpose instead of waiting for permission.
That's a huge one.
It is. And if you're listening to this right now, I want you to really examine your own creative life. How often do you stall your own projects? You know, you tinker, you delay, you endlessly revise.
Because secretly you are waiting for someone else to validate you.
Yes.
Yeah.
You want some authority figure to tap you on the shoulder and say, yes, this is brilliant. You finally have permission to exist as an author.
It's a really hard habit to break, honestly, because traditional publishing literally trains you to wait for permission. Well, it operates exactly like a school system. You query an agent, and you wait for permission to be represented. The agent pitches an editor, and you wait for permission to be published.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The indie mindset demands that you tear down that entire psychological scaffolding.
Yeah.
There's no teacher waiting to grade your paper anymore. You have to validate yourself.
But stepping out without that external validation is absolutely terrifying. You are completely exposed. And if taking ownership and moving with purpose is the goal, we really have to talk about the invisible force that actively stops you from doing it.
Let's take a second to break down the 4 pillars mentioned in the previous clip. Let's walk through each one, and I encourage you to take notes as we go. First, ownership, taking full responsibility for your work and your publishing journey. This means you are not waiting for permission. You are making decisions, learning the process, and moving your book forward. Pause and ask yourself, what decisions do I need to make about my book right now? Second, investing time in learning the business of books. Because publishing is not just creative, it's also strategic. Some tools that can help you learn and grow include Amazon Kindle, Direct Publishing, and Ingram Spark to understand how publishing works in real time. You can also use platforms like YouTube and Skillshare to continue learning the business side of writing. Take a moment to write down. What is one area of publishing you need to learn more about? Third, being fiercely consistent. Showing up even when progress feels slow. Consistency is how authors build visibility. Tools like Buffer, Later, and Planable can help you plan and schedule your content so you don't have to start from scratch every day. Write this down. What days will I commit to showing up each week? Fourth, building a community of readers. Because your audience is what sustains your work long term. Social platforms like Instagram and TikTok help you grow visibility. But to truly own your audience, tools like ConvertKit and MailChimp allow you to build an email list and stay connected to your readers. Pause and reflect. Where will I begin building my audience?
It's fear. It really is.
It's the permanent resident in every creative brain.
And the guide doesn't shy away from this at all. It calls out 3 very specific hurdles. First, the fear of not being good enough, which is just classic imposter syndrome.
We all know that one.
Right. Second, the fear of being judged. And that could be by random internet reviewers or even your own family members who finally read what goes on inside your head.
That one is incredibly common.
Yeah. And third, the ultimate nightmare scenario, the fear of crickets.
The silence.
Exactly. The fear that you will literally bleed onto the page for 2 years, put the book out there into the world, and absolutely no one will care.
What I really appreciate about this framework, though, is that it doesn't offer you some toxic positivity garbage.
Right.
It doesn't say, just banish fear from your mind and constantly visualize success. It acknowledges that fear is a biological threat response to visibility.
That makes a lot of sense.
When you stand up and say, hey, look at what I made, your brain naturally perceives that as a massive social risk.
Because it is.
Right? The lesson here isn't about figuring out how to eliminate the fear entirely. It's about realizing that you don't need the fear to be gone in order to take action. You can carry the fear in your backpack and still take the very first step.
Which is why there is a mandatory grounding action step in the guide that you have to take before you do anything else.
Oh, the 3 questions.
Yes.
Wow.
Before you look at formatting, before you obsess over marketing strategies or cover art, you have to write down the answers to 3 foundational questions.
And you really have to write them down, not just think about them.
Exactly. First, why do you want to publish this book? Second, who do you want this book to reach? And third, what does success actually look like for you?
Right.
The instruction is to write this down and literally tape it to your monitor or put it somewhere highly visible to anchor you when the turbulence inevitably hits.
This raises a really important question about how we define success in a vacuum.
What do you mean?
Well, by forcing you to write down a highly personal definition of success before you ever hit the publish button, you're actually building a psychological shield for yourself.
Oh, I see.
Because if you don't aggressively define what success means to you right now, the internet is more than happy to define it for you later.
Oh, man, that is such a dangerous trap. You just end up defaulting to whatever the algorithm is rewarding that day.
Precisely. You will log on to social media, you'll see another author holding a bestseller plaque or bragging about making 6 figures in a single month. And suddenly, your own definition of success shifts to match theirs.
And then you feel terrible.
Exactly. You will feel like a miserable failure, even if your original, genuine goal was simply to hold a physical copy of a story you wrote for your grandchildren.
Right, which is a beautiful goal.
It is. By writing down your unique why and your specific what, you inoculate yourself against the disease of comparison. It gives you a tether to reality.
Yeah.
So when a marketing campaign fails or a 1-star review ruins your morning, you can look at that piece of paper and say, no, this is why I'm here. The rest is just noise.
That is so powerful. So what does this all mean for you listening right now as we bring this deep dive to a close? Let's just pull all these threads together.
Yeah, let's recap.
The journey of the independent author isn't about perfection. It's not about writing a flawless first draft or never making a terrible business decision. It's about progress. It's about taking true, unflinching ownership of your creative life by recognizing that you are the CEO. And most importantly, it's about having the sheer courage to step out of the kitchen, look at the restaurant you're building, and realize that fighting for your own visibility is just as honorable a job as writing the book in the first place.
I want to leave everyone with a final thought to mull over today, something that pushes this concept just a little bit further.
Okay, let's hear it.
If the ultimate paradigm shift is recognizing that you are the absolute decision maker, and that visibility, the marketing, the engine, is what actually gets your work into readers' hands.
Right.
At what point do you cross the invisible line from being a pure artist, sharing a vulnerable personal voice, to a marketer selling a commercial product?
Oh.
And more importantly, once you start treating your own voice as a product to be optimized for visibility, does that fundamentally change the kind of art you create next?
Man, that is a heavy, uncomfortable question to leave us on, but it is exactly the kind of friction this mindset shift forces you to confront. The artist and the CEO have to share the exact same brain, whether they like each other or not. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Go write down your personal definition of success, tape it somewhere you absolutely can't ignore it, and whatever you do, keep moving with purpose.
Okay, let's take a moment to recap. Don't fall for the common myth. If you build it, they will come. There's more to it than that. As an indie author, you won't have a big machine behind you. There's no large publishing team handling everything for you, which means you must be intentional, strategic, and consistent in how you approach your journey. Take heed to this advice as you continue through this course. Let's quickly revisit the 4 pillars. Ownership, taking full responsibility for your work and your publishing decisions. Investing time in learning the business. Understanding how publishing, marketing, and selling books actually works. Being fiercely consistent, showing up even when progress feels slow. And building a community of readers, creating real connections with the people who support your work. I hope this lesson has given you clarity and confidence as you begin your journey. Take a moment to reflect, review your notes, and get ready for what's next. You're doing great, and honestly, I think you're well on your way to becoming the author you've always envisioned yourself to be. So, pat yourself on the back. Pause. I'll see you in Module 2.